Welcome to the Brand Theory Podcast, the podcast for helping you uncover your passion, realize your purpose, and take the aligned action. Together, we're going to prove the theory that when we live our lives on brand, the possibilities become limitless. I'm your host, Danielle Marquesi, branding expert and business coach. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Brand Theory Podcast. Today we're sitting down with Jas, a passionate entrepreneur and spiritual enthusiast who loves to ramble on about how to feel good and be happy. She's also the founder of Zen Row, where she helps women use spirituality tools to start a successful business. Jas also happens to be a high-level one-on-one client of mine, and I'm super excited to dive into this episode and talk more about her journey. Well, welcome to the show, Jas.
Thanks, Danielle. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. And guys, quick little note, Jas has also started her own podcast. I've been trying to get her on the podcast for so long, and now it's just so fitting that she's got her own, and we'll chat a little bit about that a little later on. So first question I have for you is, I know we heard a little bit about you in that intro, but in your own words, I've kind of loved to learn more about who you are, the journey thus far, and how you got to this point in your business.
Sure. Oh, man. I'm a diehard entrepreneur. Like, I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur, like, since grade 11. Like, the university programs I chose and, like, my master's and everything, and was all geared towards being my own boss. But what that actually led to was starting off with messing around with a bunch of, like, my own ideas and startups. But then ultimately I ended up working with teams in like actual startups and that had funding and investments behind it. And so I joined teams and I got equity and, you know, failed miserably, was like broke many times, and but also got to a lot of levels of success in a lot of businesses that I joined. So it's been about, I think, 13 years of me just like going on this roller coaster of entrepreneurship, and along the way, like just failing a lot, and also seeing success and everything in between as when it comes to entrepreneurship. And what I learned along the journey was that my strengths really lie in marketing and growing a startup from scratch. So that's like the business side of it. And then also what I learned along the journey was just the mindset piece. And really, and then just through trial and error and years of being reckless and naive, and and then realizing that, you know, the mindset is everything. And if you think you're not good enough, if you think you're going to fail, then you will. And it's really digging into some of these beliefs and fears that we have and shining a light on it with this awareness that we need, and then figuring out why we have those beliefs, and then getting like kind of putting them aside and moving forward. And that's kind of another huge part of my journey is alongside the business part, was just really digging into this mindset piece, and going through the rabbit hole of spirituality over the last couple of years. And then now I've come to a point where I can look at my journey and realize that I can combine both of these pieces, the spirituality piece as well as this marketing piece, starting businesses and growing the startups from scratch with this bulletproof mindset that I believe you need to have.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many pieces to that I want to dissect. But the first thing I want to say is it's really weird to hear you describe yourself as reckless, because that is like the furthest term I would choose to describe you, especially knowing you in this space now. But that just goes to show, like, we all have our personal journeys to get to this Zen place. So that's really funny. But can you tell us more about like your definition of Zen and how you even came up with this name for this business?
Well, the Zenrow actually came from a colleague at work. So I do work full time. I do have a career that I'm very passionate about, alongside being my own boss. And something you always say, Danielle, is you can have both. You don't have to choose. You can do whatever you want. So at work, I started to put all of these things on my desk, because like I'm so anti-boss and so anti-9 to 5. Like I that's why I'm always working in startups. I want like a rugged, weird ass workspace. I don't want to be a cubicle. I want it to be totally non-corporate. So I was like, I'm going to bring my salt lamp, my nebulizer, diffuser, whatever it's called, my essential oils, my candles, crystals. I'm going to zen my desk out so it feels really good to me. Cause I'm opposed to going to a job, but I'm like, I believe in this company. I want to work here, but I got to make it joyful. I got to make it me.
Absolutely.
So I just surrounded it with like all this Zen stuff. And then my employee who sat beside me was like, oh, I'm going to bring my stuff too. So then we all, like, our whole little area was totally Zen'd out. And then I think it was my boss who came by and was like, whoa, you guys created Zen Row.
Oh my gosh, I never knew this.
I was like, really? Zen Row, eh? And it's so funny because then it was like a whole joke in the company that I was queen of Zen Row, and everybody wanted to join Zen Row. So then, like, the office manager, like, who sat like close by, was like, I want to be a part of Zen Row, and she cut a candle on her desk, and then it was like another person was like, oh, can I have an invitation to Zen Row? So then it became like a little group of
that's
people
so cool,
who like wanted to be a part of Zen Row, which was cute. And then secretly I was like, I'm going to create a blog that's called Zen Row. And so then I was like, so it was such a secret, because then I kept it quiet for like 6-7 months because I was really coming out of the spiritual closet with this blog and really putting my passion and heart and soul into it. And I'm like, what are the people at work going to say when I took this name, and ran with it?
Yeah.
And I kept it all quiet and secret for a while. But that's kind of how it came out.
Yeah, that's so cool. I never knew that. I don't know how I didn't know that, but that's such a cool story. Can you go back to that point of talking about how you can have both? And I think what I love so much about you is so many things, but the fact that you're like owning the fact that you can have both, that you're not necessarily giving up your career to jump into this business. And if that's the route that you guys want to take, that's totally fine. But it's also okay if you want to keep the career and have the business on the side, keep it as a side hustle, and eventually take it over. It's also okay if you never want to take your business on full time.
Yeah.
It's clearly a passion to you, and you get to kind of play out your passion however you want. So can you speak to kind of, was that a firm decision for you to keep your career and build a business? Was it a thing that you kind of had to work through? And to anybody who's kind of dealing with that right now, like, well, I don't want to leave my career and start my business full time, what would you kind of say to them? Because there definitely is kind of a little bit of a low key stigma in the industry of leave the 9 to 5, get out. And I'm all for that if that's what you want. But if you want to stay because you genuinely love it, that is also okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little older, late 30s, if you can believe it. But so in my like, I have a career. Like, I built this career since I was early 20s, obviously. And I worked really hard to get to where I am. You know, I got to the leadership position in my last job. And that was like, getting to that point was really important to me. You know, because it's, I don't know, it was my dream. It was something that I wanted.
Yeah.
And now like, I have, when you build your career for so long and you have these goals and aspirations, there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, if you're ambitious and you want to go for the top. So now I have choices and flexibility, and I can pick and choose what I want to work on. And then that's really important to me too, the flexibility and freedom. And also being able to work with very interesting companies and like helping them reach, you know, scale and reach success. Like, I have even more ambitious goals where I want to work with a company and take it to exit or IPO and all those great things. So that can all be a part of your, you know, your career, so that can be your career. But then if you have these desires of, you know, I still want the choice, like, if for me personally, I still want the choice. Like, there's days and months, or, you know, when you want to build a family or you want to go on trips and all these kinds of things that happen in your life where you're like, you know what, I don't want to be a slave to this job. Like, it's a career and it's great, but I don't want to be like so attached to this income where I'm like, I have to go to work because I have to pay my bills, I have to pay my mortgage. I never want to be in that position.
Right. So
I totally recommend having multiple income streams. So you have your 9 to 5, but it's not your be all or end all. It's important to build other streams of income where it can be a passion project, which is Zen Row for me, but then also maybe another investments, like a real estate investment or some sort of TFSA is Canadian, but whatever the equivalent is. And then also like a money making type of business where, you just make money on it. So, I mean, there's so many options out there that you can kind of incorporate into your income stream. I kind of went on a tangent there.
No, that's good. And I think that's kind of like something we were talking about yesterday is the passion project and the making the money business. And they don't have to necessarily be different, but when exploring that passion business, it might take you a little bit more research. But is there another skill that you can literally do in your sleep? Is it like a tech thing?
Right.
Is it a consulting thing? Is it whatever? And just having that, if it takes like an hour of your time and it's, you charge $100 as a consultation fee, why not? Like, why not do that once a week? Like, just kind of think about how you can start doing all these little things to build up. I think they say like having 7 streams of income is like the best way to go or something like that. But how can you kind of like build on top of that while still recognizing what you want going for and recognizing that purpose and passion? You can do it all, guys.
For sure. It's like and then something that came to me was maybe people don't think they can make money on the side. Like maybe, and there's so many beliefs and fears wrapped up in that. Because we've all been, there's all that money mindset stuff that, maybe you've been raised that you have to have a job and that's the only place you can get income from and you can't make money on your own. So there's a lot of mindset things that are important to dig into there. But even trying out a money-making business, just to prove to yourself and have confidence that you can make money on your own, I think it's just such an important life skill. Yeah. Because especially in this day and age where there's so many ways that you can just go online and put something up.
Right.
And, voila, like suddenly you're, you have a product that's available for sale. And so many like websites that have hundreds of people asking for a particular type of project or service. So personally, I feel like everyone should explore the opportunity to make money for themselves.
Yeah.
As like a, life, like just to eliminate a lot of these blocks that stop us from moving forward.
Yeah. And you're right. It's such a confidence booster. You get that notification that you made it, even if a small sale, $5, like, ooh, somebody bought something that I created or that's mine.
Exactly.
So definitely check that out. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just so, personally, I feel like when you're working at a 9 to 5, it's like all your work has to be, most likely has to be approved, go through layers of approval. You work with a team, people give their input, and maybe you like that. Like I'm not a big fan of someone critiquing my work and like making it so like sitting through meetings and people like telling me like all these things and suggestions and feedback. I'm like, F that shit. Like I want to make my own thing. No one gives feedback and I just sell it. And when you do that, when you create something of your own and you put it out there and someone buys it, I think that feeling is it's fulfilling. It's like makes you feel so, I don't know what the word is.
Empowered.
It's exhilarating. Yeah, empowered.
Yeah.
Just because you're putting something out there, no one's giving any approval. You don't have a boss. You're just creating this service, you're creating this product, you're putting it out there and someone gives you money for it. Like that is just so empowering.
Yeah. I'm like getting chills, like listening to you and watching you talk about it with your hands. Like, it's so true. Guys, if you like think you can't, just try. Like there's no overhead in creating like a PDF or creating a consultation page or creating these little things. There's no overhead but time. So just try it. Just try it and see what happens. Okay, let's circle back to the Zen Row part of your life. Can you define the term Zen for us?
I mean, for me, it's related to having peace, peace of mind, and really very much peace of mind and calm.
Yeah.
And I surround myself with these things that bring me peace, bring me calm, and also a sense of joy.
Yeah.
So, and like we're sitting on our desk for like 8 to 10 hours a day. So like I have things in my office that bring me joy, that mean something to me. Or have some properties like crystals and like my salt lamp is here, my money plant is over here, like just surrounding myself and mandalas behind me, just with these things that really bring peace, calm, and joy. But then also incorporating a daily practice that just allow that feeling to be more consistent, and like, tapping into your intuition is a huge part of Zen.
Yeah.
So like I do meditation, yoga, and journaling every morning, and I feel like that just sets the tone for the day. Where you don't fall into the demands, and I'm human, I do, but I'm trying to become more aware of not following into other people's priorities or demands, but coming back to myself and finding my breath and staying in that calm space.
Yeah, I love that. Is that how you would also define spirituality, or is there anything different in terms of like the term spirituality when we hear that?
Yeah, spirituality is the study of the soul, really. So it's how can you go back to your soul's purpose, and how can you be authentic to yourself and authentically you, because we're all unique. We're there's no point in comparing yourself to anybody else. You have your own life's journey in this world.
Yeah.
So spirituality just helps you get in tune to that life's journey and the authenticity of who you are.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that is really just go within and quiet everything down and just listen and
right.
Yeah, and it ties back to Zen in a lot of ways in that sense.
When I kind of went on this spiritual journey of my own in my business, I almost felt like it was one of the missing pieces to my business. I was at the point where I was like running on a treadmill with no results, right? I was trying every strategy in the book. I was up all hours of the night after my business before my 9 to 5 and after my 9 to 5, just trying to make it work. And I just felt like nothing was working. And I had a coach, and everyone in the industry was telling me, try doing something a little more feminine energy, try doing something a little more spiritual, try just breathing, try just relaxing. And I was so hesitant to do it because I thought it had to look a certain way. Like I thought I had to do, an hour of meditation, an hour of journaling, an hour of reading. I just felt like I didn't have the time. So can you speak at all to kind of how we can make it work for ourselves, if anybody else is maybe struggling with just dipping their toe in or wants to learn but might be a little bit nervous about it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many terms out there like feminine and masculine energy, all this stuff. And then I think that can be a little intimidating for people. But it really comes down to realizing that, if your success was based on time and hard work, then everyone would be billionaires and being like super so happy all the time, right?
That's so true.
So there is that piece. Yeah, you have to obviously put the work into a business like anything in life, but there's this other piece that you're missing, that is that soul piece, and it really comes from stepping away from your work. And that's where the inspiration comes from. That's where the creativity and confidence and mindset boost comes from, is the time you spend away from your work. And that's just as important as putting the work in. Which, I think a lot of us, especially new entrepreneurs, fall into this trap of, I'm going to work on this as hard as I can, and I'm going to be successful. And the more personal that business is, and the more that you're wrapped up into, like, let's say a passion business, the more it's really related to your energy, and you really have to take care of that energy. And that the energy it has to be taken care of outside of this office space, and maybe through like other things like hobbies and being and family and all those great things. So I think that's just a misconception as an entrepreneur. You're like, no, I don't have time for that. I have to work on my business. But that part is so important.
It almost needs to become a non-negotiable. Like, you wouldn't wake up and just not brush your teeth. You have to wake up and do something for yourself rather than jumping right into work. Even if it's like 10 minutes, even if it's 20 minutes, just to take that time to just check in with yourself. How do you feel? Do a breathing exercise, do a stretching exercise. It makes a world of a difference. And I'm guilty of it too. Once in a while I'll skip because I think I can just get one thing done really quick, and then I can have a little bit longer to spend in my morning routine. And before I know it, I look up, it's 2:00 and I didn't do it. I feel wonky. I feel stressed. It really does make all the difference. So tell us a little bit more about your morning routine. You're doing yoga, meditation, and journaling every morning. Do you decide in that morning like what you want to journal on? Do you have prompts that you follow? Do you follow a yoga routine? Where do you get your meditation? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do it twice a day last year, but since January 1st, I've incorporated this new routine. I think it's important to always switch up your routines,
Yeah,
like, because you'll get
absolutely.
bored and it's not going to be exciting. So until, like, to the point where you're like, I don't want to do this, change it. But right now, this is really good for me. So what I do is I'm doing the 30-day yoga with Adrian challenge for
Cool.
January. Really loving it. Never did a yoga challenge before, and it's really good. I love it. But before I do that, when I wake up, I turn off my alarm and I don't look at my phone. This is key. So because I noticed that when you, like, it's so easy to grab your phone, check your messages and everything. But personally, if I'm looking at work messages or anything else, those will stay in my head until they're resolved, and those will stay in my head while I'm meditating, while I'm yoga. So it's like messes with your Zen, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I'm using my iPad for my meditation, journaling, and my YouTube.
So then you're not even looking at your phone.
Yeah,
That's great. That's such a good idea.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
But it's also very hard. Like, your instinct is just to grab your phone.
Yep.
But it's also like, once you want to experiment and you're curious, I would totally recommend that as just like, turn off your alarm and don't look at it until you're done, like, your morning routine, like, everything's done. And then I only want to look at it, once I'm ready for work, because then you're in that groove. But before that time is sacred.
Yeah.
And it's special to me, and I don't want anything messing with it. I want my mind to be calm and peaceful, and and when you're meditating, you have enough on your plate. You have enough thoughts going through your head, and it will make it worse if you're, like, thinking about, oh, I got to get, that urgent message from my boss, I have to get back to him, and all that crap. So but yeah, I do meditation and journaling as what I really focus on as a starting point is always gratitude. So what am I grateful for? And right now, what I'm really focused on recognizing which is the theme of my year, is self-love and self-care. So and really, like, I've had issues, body image issues, and body issues in general, like, just not feeling good about my body and all that bad stuff. So my focus really is kind of almost talking to my body and saying, I love you. I'm, like, so grateful that we're able to do yoga every day. We're flexible, we're strong, we're building strength, and you're so resilient.
I love that.
So I'm really, that's my focus right now, to really have a conversation with my body. And I know it sounds weird, but
no, not at all, because it's like the things that we may feel uncomfortable with about ourselves, those are the things that need the attention, that need that love, that need that, like, hug, and that no, we're good, we're okay. So I love that you're doing that. Good. So we do that every morning. Do you do that at the same time every morning? Are you flexible with your times?
Weekends I'm a little more flexible, but in the weekdays I try for 7:30, but I do want to make it earlier because it takes me about an hour. I want to aim for 7, but I've been very gentle with myself.
Yeah. That's the thing about this whole, like, self-love, self-care. It's great to say, okay, I want to commit to this 7 days a week, and I want to start at 7 every day. And then we almost feel like guilty if we don't do it. So how do you kind of brace when you, I don't want to say fail to do what you wanted to do, but when you adjust the time, or you adjust anything in business, or the strategy, or the project you wanted to get done, how do you kind of bring it back to that self-love, self-care Zen space, and just honoring yourself in a loving way?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be really important to you. Honestly, like, any kind of goal or any kind of ritual or something new you want to introduce to your life, there has to be a why behind it. It has to be really meaningful and impactful for you. Just being like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this is not enough. Like, for me, like having some health issues last year really made me focus and realize that I need to make my health and well-being a priority. And and think about this stuff every day, incorporate it into my life, have all those things in place. So, I mean, it sucks that maybe sometimes like a negative experience makes you realize or wake up to what you need to change. But there definitely has to be a why behind why you want it. And it can't be based on someone else's priorities or someone else told you to do it. It has to really come from your heart and your soul and mean something to you personally.
Yeah, I love that. can you tell us how you incorporate that Zen side into the process of working with your clients? So you help your clients start businesses from the ground up. How do you kind of set that tone to say, well, this part of incorporating the spiritual side, the Zen side, is just as important as the business side? Because I know, speaking for myself, as a business owner who is starting off, I want all strategy all the time. Obviously, your name is Zen Row, so they know that that's going to be incorporated. But how do you kind of make sure that other people are prioritizing that, or how do you rope it into your program?
Yeah. So what I do is we focus on the mindset piece first. So the first couple modules are really mindset focused, with a little bit of business sprinkled in. But because I personally believe, and my philosophy is that unless you have like some of these like high level fears, like fear of being seen or fear of being judged or fear of failure, like you're not like, even like some of the money mindset stuff, like I can't make money, I'm not good enough, and there's all of these kinds of fears and limiting beliefs that leave us stuck. And I've been there. So this is all from experience where I've started businesses and like, did all the marketing, created the website, created the social media, created the program even, but then I could not sell it. I couldn't reach out to anybody because I was just stuck in this paralyzed state of fear and limiting beliefs. So it's like, why waste the time doing all this stuff if you can't do it? Like at the end, you're not going to be able to do it. So I really like to set the tone with the business. Set the tone of the program where we kind of tackle some of these mindset things, like mindset as a whole, money as a whole, creating a daily ritual so you can keep it going and have all the tools that you need in order to, like, if something comes up, how to figure out, and creating that awareness around it. And then once you're in a good space, then we kind of really dig into the business with, all the great stuff like community and assets and launch.
I feel like that stuff, like all that techie stuff, is super overwhelming. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It's a little overwhelming to somebody who's totally new. And I feel like doing that mindset piece first allows you to navigate all of that so much, not easier necessarily, but like with that, from that headspace of, this is hard, but I know I can do it. This is hard, but I know I'm going to figure it out. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've started, speaking of tech, so you've started and you are super good at tech stuff in the business world, for your own business, all that kind of stuff. Do you have a favorite tool or system that you use in your own business that you would recommend?
Favorite system or tool? Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I'm always testing and experimenting different tools and like workflows and stuff, but I'm not a person that likes structure or like workflows and I'd like to just give that to someone else. I'm very much a creative person, and I like to do like copywriting, and I like to create Instagram stuff, and like that's kind of where I'd like to be. And I don't know if I have a favorite, to be honest, because I understand tech, I know how to do it, but I don't love and passionate about it or anything like that. But
I feel like you can like look at a system and figure it out fairly quickly, whereas somebody like me, it may take a little while. That doesn't mean you love it, but like I feel like you can look at it and be like, okay, I get that, let's do it. I don't know if like there was one just off the top of your head that you just like, or even that you hate, that you don't recommend us using.
I mean, what I will say is you don't need any structure or websites or anything to start a business. Like, people get too caught up with, I need a website and I need to get my Instagram this and all this stuff, and you don't need any of it to start a business.
You're so right. So, it can be an Instagram page, it could be word of mouth, it could be anything. Keep it simple and add on for sure. Okay, so you've started a lot of businesses in the past. Why is Zenrow have such a special piece of your heart?
It does, because I've finally reached a point personally where I've kind of tackled my demons, which is the mindset blocks, limiting beliefs, fears. Like, I've tackled these guys. They'll always be there. Like, we're human. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be a part of our journey. But now I'm more aware, and I have them on the sidelines. Like, there's one quote Elizabeth Gilbert said that was really cool, where the fears are always there, but they're in the back seat, and they don't dictate the journey or have control over the radio.
Yeah. Or
So that
that's so true. Yeah.
Right. So it's like they'll always be there, but they're kind of in the background. So because of this like bulletproof mindset I've built up, it feels like I can do anything and be anybody I want to be. And the other really important part, and something I teach in my program, is I have such a strong support system around me. And that's so important when you're trying to be an entrepreneur and trying things on your own. So yeah, mindset, support, and just like, yeah, those are the things that have really, allowed me to intertwine two things that I really love.
Yeah.
And putting it out there.
Good. I love that. Okay. So I feel like your Zen term is the same word as my living on brand term. It's like, what is Zen to you? What's branding to you? It's all about living authentically and all that good stuff. Was there a time in your life, and I'm sure there was, because we all have them, where you felt very off-brand? You felt like you just weren't living in alignment, you weren't being authentic to yourself, and how did you navigate back to living on brand?
That's a hard question. Oh my gosh.
It could be something big, or it could be something super simple, like I was drinking Poland spring water, but I really wanted to be drinking Fiji water. Like, people, it could be something super simple, or it could be a little bit more in depth.
Gosh. I think it's funny, about a year ago, when I was I think it was more than a year now, when I was thinking about starting Zen Row and everything, I was like, I want to be a meditation teacher because I want to get into meditation. But then I was like, I don't even meditate every day. How could it be? Where's this big jump? I'm not going to spend a couple $1,000s to get a meditation certification when I don't even meditate.
Right.
Right. That was because I had all this passion for spirituality, was reading books and then learning all this stuff, but then I wasn't actually incorporating or integrating some of these learnings into my life with a daily practice and tapping into intuition and meditating and all this great stuff. So that was my first thing, where I was like, I don't even meditate. Why? What's this jump? So what I ended up doing was I'm like, okay, that's a great goal to have. Let me work up to that.
Yeah.
So I bought a cool meditation pillow, and
I saw that the other day in your post.
Yoga. Yeah, I love it.
Super cute. Yeah.
I set up a little yoga area with cool things, and I started to meditate, and I used the app. I experimented with a bunch of apps and guided meditation or whatever I needed to do. But I started, and and even tapping into my intuition, the message was always there to go all in. This is you, go all in. Stop beating around the bush around being in not showing who you are, or not being who you're supposed to be, which is spiritual in your own way.
Yeah.
And so then I went all in and started meditating, had all the cool things that I wanted, and so that's kind of how I went.
Speaking of apps, do you have a favorite app that you use now?
Yeah, I use Insight Timer.
Oh, okay, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, it's really cool. It allows you to set a timer for your meditation, pick music, put in bells. So I usually
cool.
I put a bell at the halfway mark, just so I know where I am. Because then your mind's always how long is this going to be? How long?
Right.
So if you have that bell that goes off halfway through, you're okay, I'm halfway through. So I like that cue.
Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't even know something like that existed. You almost build your own.
And it's free.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah. I've been using the Calm app a little bit, mostly for sleeping. I've been really into the ocean sounds or the rain sounds when I'm sleeping.
Oh, yeah. Did you try Sound Sleep, or what is it, Sleep Stories?
With the Matthew McConaughey story and all that kind of stuff? No, I haven't tried it yet. I just I'm when you get so into something, you don't even want to change the routine. That's where the spot I'm in right now.
I tried a couple of stories. I didn't like the Matthew McConaughey story.
No?
The funny thing is, on the free version of Calm, there's one about lavender fields. That's probably the best sleep story. The other ones are not as good as the free one.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. Good to know.
Invest in it.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you've got going on over there.
Yeah. So it's definitely brand new, and it really marries the intersection of spirituality and business. So I like to talk to entrepreneurs that are spiritually inclined, and they use like mindset practices or spiritual modalities to help them create a successful and sustainable business.
Yeah.
And what I'm really gravitating towards with my guests are people with interesting stories.
Yeah.
So like some things that are kind of out of the blue and interesting, like quitting your job and, moving to Bali.
Yeah.
Or like, what was the other one? Or selling. My first guest was someone who sold their business. And so these kinds of things are, for me, are very inspirational, and because I like things that are off the beaten path.
Yeah.
And hearing about how people live their lives that are outside of like a 9 to 5, and
just
whatever.
doing it on their own terms really. Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. What's the name of your podcast?
The Zenrow Podcast.
How fitting. I love it. What else are you working on? Where can we find more of you? Tell us all the details.
Oh, okay. So Zenrow Co. on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm really at these days. And then my podcast, which is right now the schedule is really twice a month, but I want to get to a weekly slot. And then I have the Zenrow business program that I'm running as well, where I take one-on-one clients. And if you're super new to everything, that I have a startup meditation bundle. That's always a good start to kind of dip your toe in the water.
Yep, I was going to take the words right out of my mouth. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there any last thoughts you want to leave us with before we say goodbye?
Yeah, one thing I always say is you can be and do anything you want to be.
Yes,
I
love that. That's the perfect place to leave that off. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to talk to you again and dive more into this details of the inspiration spiritual side of things. And thank you so much for being here again. And
thank you for having me.
Talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.